Hey, it's Russ from Pro Tools Expert, and I'm taking a look at the FMX1. It's part of the UVI workstation set of libraries, and this one is part of a load of vintage synth. So the first one I'm looking at is the DX1. Now the DX1 was a unique synth. It was basically two DX7s, which were stuck together inside one synth with wood panels on the end. That's the best way to summarize it. It was about a $10,000 synth, and it had wooden panels on the end, as I say. So it was a rarity. Some people suggest the DX5 was just the same, but we're not going there. Now, if you're not familiar with DX synthesis, DX synthesis works on FM modulation, and what that was a very complex synth for a lot of people in its day. It came along at this, just about 5-6 years after we had really a resurgence of really big analog synths like the Jupiter 8 and Juno 6s and stuff like this. So this was a very different sounding synth. And so I had a DX7, so I wanted to get this and try it out and compare it. There are several sounds that are key indicators of whether this sounds anything like a DX7, whether this is anything good. And another indicator, so there are some sounds that it needs to do really well. And also there's some sounds it needs to do really badly because DXs weren't very good at big, mushy string sounds, pad sounds, brass sounds. So I was intrigued to get this and to see A, how it sounded, and B, what they could do to improve it. So one of the big sounds, the sounds of the 80s, the DX sound that was over every track, was this sound. It was on everything from Whitney Houston to Chicago, virtually every track. Every ballad had it on. There's a bit of LFO in there. And what DXs were known for was this really bright sound. As you can hear, that's really, really nice. So let me show you 2 or 3 sounds that, for me, are the ones that say either it's going to sound like a DX or not. And I'm going to just go out and get a couple up. So that was one of them. Things like clavinets are another one. Just load a clavinet in for you. You can have a listen to this. So that was one of the sounds. The other big sound that was very, very DXy, of course, was the original bass sound, the classic DX bass sound. Let me just open that one up for you. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of key groups. This has got 293 key groups going on in here, so lots and lots of samples. Now straight away you can hear things like there's reverb and there's delay on it, so if I turn those off, because it didn't have any of those kind of effects. So all sorts of stuff from Miami Vice and all the shows of that time, it was all over it, and this was the one. So that's the kind of stuff, and then we go into things like mallets, and so DX vibes, very big there. So very nice. And then we can go through to a couple of others. So we would go to things like a marimba. This is another thing heard all over things like Dream of the Blue Turtles. Sting's album had these kind of sounds all over it. So again, it's lighting my nostalgia fire in some detail because it really has lots of those things, and of course bells as well. It was also known for its bells, so I've just got you a couple of glockenspiels. I remember people buying the little DX100, which is a little sort of miniature synth just to get. Slightly wacky. Let's try this one. again, there's a dead ringer for a DX sound. Hear that sort of break up there at the bottom. Let's try a couple more, then I'm going to get into some detail on the actual synth. So these really round. This is very So there's some of the sounds. Just going to move my mic across, so forgive me if it squeaks a bit as I do this so I can get to the screen. And there's a couple of things I want to start pointing out. The first one is that the great thing about FM was the sound it had on those kind of sounds. The thing it was really bad at, and one of the big tests I'm going to make, and did make when I first got this, was the orchestral stuff. So I go to something like the bright strings and just play those for a second. Yeah, that's a typical string sound from a DX. So one of the tests, the real test of this in terms of how this sounds and how authentic it is how crap the string sounds are and how crap the brass sounds are. It's just not analog, it never was. However, what makes this unique was one of the big challenges for people with DX synthesis was the FM synthesis. They just couldn't get their heads around it, most people, so they really stuck to presets, and that's probably why there's several presets that just were always used a lot in stuff. But on this, we have filtering, so we have authentic, well, not authentic, should I say, but the traditional filtering on it. So we've got things like bring that res down. Add an envelope in there and then attack. It didn't have any effects either, so this has got effects built in as well, which is really nice. So we have drive, crusher, phaser, delay, reverb, vibrato, tremolo, filter, all of those things in there as well, which are very nice. Another cool thing it has, which wasn't in the original and wasn't certainly in DX7s, was an arpeggiator, and there's loads of really nice patches on here that are arpeggiator patches, and I was playing with them yesterday, so let me just get some up and show them to you, because they're very good. And actually I was really inspired when I was playing with this yesterday. One of the signs of a good instrument, whether it's a Steinway Grand or anything, is how inspired you are when you start playing with it. So pull that down a bit. But some of these arpeggiators are really, really nice sounds. And again, that kind of break up there, it's sort of very DXy. This reminds me of the 80s. Imagine a kick drum going under there on 4 on the floor. Reminds me a bit, it's not anything like it in a way, but the actual riff reminds me of that. I try to discover. But you give me no reason. Great track. Go and listen to it on iTunes. Give it a real blast of the 80s. So some really cool stuff. Let's get another one up. Play you a couple more. So these are actually arpeggiator patches, but they're not the arpeggiator. But some really nice sounds. But then we can go back into a regular sound, so we could come back into something, as you say, such as a mallet sound, and let's go into one of those, and we will go into DX vibes again. And then we can come in and we can choose to use the arpeggiator here. So we could nice. And then we can go in and mod it. Is it modulate those? Add that to the filter. And come in here then. So we have two arbs. We have the arb where we can change things like the filtering and the volume. And this one where we can start to change the actual note structure. Add a groove to it. Change the steps down. Almost Night Rider there. So there we have an arpeggiator built in as well. And then we can go in and edit the effects that are built in as well. Let's go now and change that. Very nice. So, what do I think? I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. It gives a big thumbs up from me, most of all because it sounds authentic. It sounds as a DX should sound. It sounds great on those sounds that DXs are good at, and it sounds pretty grim on the sounds that it was bad at. So they haven't tried to fake things like string sounds and brass sounds, because again the brass sounds were grim on DXs. Never come to again the orchestral, something like that. Let me just show you like the brass sound here will just be that was all overrated stuff, but it was cringeworthy. It was pretty grim, but on the whole though, so again, bass sounds, you get to some of there's the classic DX, but then we have things like, this was another one that was used a lot. And I think the TX816 was very good at this, and I remember very low sub bass, but so very nice. So, FMX1, you can download it. You can try it for yourself. They're doing a download. First time I think they've done it on their stuff. So you can download it and try it for a period and then see what you think. So download it and try it yourself. But I think it's a great version of a DX synth. And for those of you that aren't into DX programming, FM-based synthesis, then this is a great middle road where you can get some great DX sounds, but at the same time use traditional synthesis, traditional subtractive synthesis to adjust the sounds to your taste. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.